Welcome back to part 56 of Fire is coming. And this is the first of Nissan. It is March the 19th, 2026 by man's calendar. Now, as I was saying, in that last part, I was talking about how how I ended up at this supposed drug meeting and so forth, which turned out not to be a drug meeting at all. And I was just like, Jesus. I didn't think it could get any worse, to be honest. Here we are, there's a woman pastor. And they're talking about women's retreats. I just wasn't interested. I guess I was kind of tuning out a lot of it. But all of a sudden, after I told the person I'd come with, I said, no, I'm not going to go up there to the retreat. I got Rosh Hashanah plans for the weekend. I can't go. And she was telling them about my love for Rosh Hashanah. And this, well, duh, it's a biblical feast time. It's not a tradition of man. That's a biblical feast. Which they knew it. Some of them knew it. They understood it. And so I was like, yes. And they talked with me about it a little bit. And some of them. And they was glad I knew about it, seemed to be. And we don't meet many like you that know about these things, they said. I said, well, you know what? That's because there probably ain't many out there. And they said, you got that right. I said, absolutely, but the Lord teaches us what we need to know when we have need to know it. And that one woman that was supposed to be pastor kept saying, well, the Lord sure sent you to us. And I kept smiling at her and saying, he sure did. While I was thinking, Jesus, I really don't understand why you did it, but I know you did it. Because you told me to come, so here I am. What's up? He kept saying, you're going to go pray in the gates. Well, as we're sitting back there on the main back row, though, me and Blondie that I went with, I'm just going to call her Blondie. And as I'm sitting there with Blondie, and she's like, we should go to that retreat. And I'm like, no, I can't. I told you I got my Rosh Hashanah plans now. Can't give those up. And I was saying that to the Lord, too. In my little prayer closet. And as I'm sitting there praying, I hear that woman, supposed to be the pastor, say, ladies, this weekend's going to be so excited. We're going to go pray in the gates. I said, Jesus, please tell me she didn't just say what I thought she said. And she said it again. I said, I knew it. Dadgummit. And Jesus said, yep, that's where you're going. And I'm going to put you right on a mountain to pray while you're there. He wasn't kidding. He put me in a motel right on top of a mountain. I tell you, the Lord took care of me through it, but what a fiasco. He done went and took me, well, hold on, let's get back to the little meeting first before we get into anything about the gates or anything. I don't know if I'm going to go into much of the gates, but let's go back, because this is just for humor's sake. Let's go back and let me paint this picture for you. of this first night. Now, I never knew none of these people except for the one that I went there with, supposedly going to a drug rehab thing for her to go to a meeting. So that she didn't have a back, a slip back or whatever. And when we get there, and we're sitting there and everything, well, they get into their little wash-up session. And they start dancing and stuff, having their charismatic movement stuff going on. And I'm thinking, Jesus, I can't even. So they had maracas and tambourines and different stuff. And they was playing them, and they brought out these baskets and set them on the front row. I said, Jesus, if they snakes in them baskets, you and me going outside for a talk. I kid you not, Lord. They best not be one copperhead and a rattlesnake in them baskets. He said, relax, there's no snakes in them baskets. No, there certainly wasn't. There was not one snake in those baskets. The snakes were running around in the church. There wasn't no snakes in that basket. But wait till you hear what was in there. It was worse. You might say, oh, how could it be worse? Well, hold on. You ever heard of logistical dancers? You know, those people, I don't know if you've ever seen them in some of these weird New Age movement churches where they get them flags and dance around. That's what was in the basket. Flags. One of them even jerked out a big old rainbow flag and was dancing around the church with it. And I said, Jesus. He said, shh, you gonna go play in the games? I said, Jesus, there ain't much I wouldn't do for you, Lord, but you know how uncomfortable I am right now. I really hate this. That's because, Lord, you know how I feel about this. You know that I just want to cut loose right now and rebuke every one of them. He said, you're going to be good and you're going to be quiet and you're going to just observe. Because wait till you see what's going to happen at the gates. Yep. They had a round table meeting at the gates. I was making jokes with Jesus when I got there because there were these round tables in this place on the one night of the service. And I was like, oh, look, Jesus, we can have a round table meeting. It's just like the Knights of King in King Arthur's day. I was kidding with him. It was just a total joke. It was just between me and him. It was in my prayer closet. Nobody heard me say it. Well, later that night, some people left early. They didn't stay for it. But we stayed for it. We stayed for the round table meeting. I even went out and got my staff that the Lord had given me that an angel had brought to me at the mountain and brought it because one woman wanted to see it. She found that testimony very fascinating where the Lord had took me to the mountain to get the staff. So I told her about it. And she said, do you have it with you? I said, yeah, it's in my Jeep. So I ran out and got it and brought it back. And it was just, and she was super fascinated by this. And that was one woman that they called pastor. She was already ticked off at me because I had did a no during the meeting. See, because they had their own prophets, supposed prophets Baal. But anyways, they had their own prophets, and they was prophesying over people.